Yeah, yeah. Mr. Independent thought, I don't fuck with thoughts. The I am my name, say I'm hard to stop. Invisibility code activated. Business all on my face like I already made it. Taking niggas to school, they all degraded. Don't care about your nigga, yeah, I'm the greatest. I'm an Ali, all up in my vein. And you can say what you want, nigga, I ain't changing. Chick in the other room, already changing. Fucked up part main, I ain't even famous. Weatherman, nigga, we hurricaning. Rain, sleet, snow, hell, we the main event.
What it do?
All right, what's going on? All right, hopefully,
Yo, can you hear me?
kinda. It's distorted though.
We should be good. It
Hopefully,
is? All right, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna turn my Wi-Fi off on my other phone, to increase the bandwidth. What about now?
okay. You completely distorted and frozen. That made it worse. Let me see about now.
Okay.
Say something.
Something.
All right. So far, seems to be okay. Let's just have a casual conversation because it's gonna be freezing.
Yeah. So it's straight now?
Distorted.
All
I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Let me move around a little bit because I just was still. Let me see, maybe right here. Let me stand right here.
I heard everything you just said just now, and it didn't freeze.
Gucci. Testing,
Yeah.
right here.
So far, good. Yep.
Let me go here.
All right, let me go get my crab cakes.
Go ahead. Hey, you got to get the What's up, y'all? I'm doing Black Male Geniuses podcast from my boy. I just came in here. I'm watching it on my other phone. NC State and wait for it.
My bad. Just trying to cook at the same time.
Yeah, that's it. So you can hear me, right? You good?
Yeah.
Right.
You actually sound a lot better now, definitely.
Okay, cool. So I removed the Wi-Fi from the other one. So this is Liv's Black Male Geniuses podcast part 7 one way days. And it's funny because my girl and one of his friends he knows on his Instagram, that actually is one of my friends through his page, actually is really looking forward to this one because we're going in. So Chase, shout out to you for hosting this because for some reason my settings ain't working right.
It's all good.
Yeah, so with my podcast, basically I just keeping it real. So Dave Chappelle, Kevin Samuel, Snoop Dogg, you know what it is. So,
what's up, Key? I see you watching.
Yeah, what's up, Key? What's up, Big Key? So basically we just talking about whatever. We part of the Negro manosphere where we ain't being silenced for shit. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna keep it real. We gonna keep it 100. And these spaces have been just taking off over the last couple years. Because it need to be heard too. This ain't anti-women. This is just pro-masculinity, and we need those spaces. So Chase, tell me a little bit more about yourself. I know this is your page, but tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, for those who don't know, I am a father, for starters.
Yeah.
I have 2 girls. I take being a father very serious, not a deadbeat dad, not someone that has to be forced to do anything, nothing like that, of course. I have a 9-month-old and I also have a 12-year-old. See, one of them lives with me. One of them lives a half a mile from me. See her very frequently. I'm also pro-man. Not to really bring him into conversation per se, but I appreciate a lot of the things that Kevin Samuels is doing and saying because he's saying things that most men wouldn't say besides inside the barbershop. Anyone who knows me personally knows I'm blunt and I'm direct and I'm honest, but everyone's not like that. A lot of men bite their tongue. I don't do that. And the same thing with my boy Juice here, I think a lot of things need to be discussed as far as what's going on in this current world. One of the things that is a little odd to me personally is when I hear people say that if you're not attracted to a trans woman, you're transphobic. I don't understand that. Like, hypothetically speaking, you see someone that you assume, let's say on Instagram, you assume that they are a woman. And then you realize that it's in fact a man, and then you no longer turn on. That doesn't make you phobic at all. It just means that you're a heterosexual male, and you don't like that.
Yeah.
So I don't understand situations like that. Watch out, Des. I'm gonna
It's a
lie.
boundary. It's a boundary thing. I think that people think that, and like I said, I've been 19 countries. A lot of y'all know that, and trying to get Chase to get to that point, and he's building towards it. I think you do want to do a little bit of traveling, and I respect
Absolutely.
that. And I think what I've learned is what people think is you can't be
I won't lie. I'm still
like you
watching.
gotta like ketchup and mustard. You can't just like ketchup and you can't just like mustard. You gotta like ketchup and mustard.
Exactly.
You don't like ketchup and mustard.
Hmm.
You don't like condiments and you hate condiments. Like, no, that's not how it works. I just don't want mustard today. You know what I'm saying? Like, or,
Exactly.
you have to respect both sides of boundaries. Like I'm all for people, whatever your orientation is, that's your goddamn business. But like when it comes
Hmm.
to my boundaries still stand. This is not a but, and that's one of my favorite things. So I feel you on that. I don't. It's not about hate anyway, and I don't allow anybody to inject, oh, you hate and blank, when I know I don't hate nobody. You know what I'm saying? There's people that I don't like.
Exactly.
But I'm old enough to know when if I hate something or not. Like I think I would know.
Exactly. And it seems like when it comes to this whole phobia and having standards, it seems to be okay with women, but the
Yeah.
moment a man has a standard, it's wrong. For example, we're both tall black brothers.
Yeah.
We both have no issues attracting women.
Nah.
I don't date fat chicks. I don't
Yeah.
care how they feel about the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
I don't care. Right now I'm 196 pounds and I'm
Word up.
6'4". When I was 267, I still wasn't doing it. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't care how they feel about it. That doesn't make me wrong. Some
Yeah.
women don't like guys as tall as me. Some women don't like light-skinned guys. I can accept that.
Yeah.
That's your preference.
Mm-hmm.
But it's wrong to say when a man has a preference. And why does this body shaming thing only seem to apply to women?
You
You
know
got
why?
mirror?
You know why? I told you, because America hates men and masculinity,
Yes,
and that's really
absolutely.
what I've seen living outside of America. It's like there's this. And look, I understand female oppression. I tell girls this all the time. I understand that. I ain't oppressed
Mhm.
no, so you can't put that
Grabbing
on.
my food, but I'm listening. I'm
You.
listening though.
But I tell people, like, I understand women normally come with the whole oppression thing, but when it comes down to it, yeah, we acknowledge that. We understand that side. Those are the women's side of the story, is the narrative that has been thrown out so heavily over the
Hmm.
past 40, 50, 60 years. So we understand
Hmm.
the female oppression. That's why we're the protectors in the first place. The thing is,
Hmm.
there's a whole other side to it. It's so funny when I say things from a male point of view. People say, "Oh, you got to consider the other side," but then when it's something about the women, we don't consider the men's side. And that's the same thing you say.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I
Hmm.
one, and I have, not many people, but sometimes some people will try to call in your blackness when first
Hmm.
of all, you won't always be black, and second of all, nobody has the power to try to take my blackness away.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
I don't
And,
know.
and, and one thing that really bothers me personally. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this is I'm speaking to someone who loves black women, who doesn't put
Right,
anything above black women. But
right.
when I see some of my friends, and I have multiple friends who date outside their race,
Mm-hmm.
they all chose black women first. It was
Oh,
black
for sure.
women who didn't want to deal with them,
Right.
didn't want to
I
accept
don't know
them.
about
But
that.
they don't take accountability as far as things like, oh, why is he with her? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were too weak for a strong black woman. Is that the case?
But these are
Or was
narratives that
your
are dangerous. These are because like you said, you chose black women first. To be honest, I didn't date outside my race until I was like in 10th grade. Like up until
Mhm.
that point, it was, for some reason, when you date outside your race one time, all of that is just null and void. Like I don't have a black family. Like I'm not poor. Like everything else is null and void. I don't understand that mentality.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's like people pick and choose when to be pro-black and when not to be pro-black. So, for example, like I told you before, I said, if you do date someone of your race, but then you out here murdering people, that's more black than someone who actually supports the community and may have dated outside their race. I don't understand that. I think
Mhm.
one is dysfunction more than the other. If you want to say another one's dysfunction, if you're just that pro-black, but
Mhm.
do an ancestry test, I guarantee you ain't gonna say black on it. I
Mhm.
guarantee you it's
I
gonna say
agree.
like African country, maybe a Caribbean country, and things like that. And that's why I push personality tests for everybody and an ancestry test. So like, there's
Mhm.
a lot of things a lot of narratives that get pushed in order to try to divide. You know what I'm saying? They don't have
I
anything
agree with that.
to do with the context.
I can
So
agree with that. Sorry about that. I'm just grabbing all my food and everything.
no, you're
So
good, you're good. So but the thing is this is like, when if it's a guy talking about something that, I mean, there is this dynamic of like sometimes women listen more to women directly because they are women. And I totally understand that. I think that that's legitimate. You know what I'm saying? Some things that women will want to talk about with women, and that could be specifically with our women or whoever. I think that there is a level of that. You know, what do you know about having a baby? You a dude. Totally fair game. Totally fair game. I will never know what that's like. So I can't completely, you know. But
having a baby, carrying a baby, I agree with. We won't understand that. But when that baby gets here,
yeah,
we have just as much
absolutely
responsibility.
Absolutely.
So you can't sit there and neglect the fact that
right.
fathers. I hate the fact that I have to say fathers are important too.
That means
we are on even grounds when it comes to raising a child, caring for a child.
As even as you could be, because let's face it, if a woman's pregnant, she's less likely to be able to protect that baby. That's where the man comes in as being the protector.
Absolutely.
If you take it back to the cave days, when that woman's vulnerable, carrying that baby, sapping her energy dry, being basically a little alien, little parasite. The man is the, you know what I'm saying? And one of my homegirls I met out here, she's a writer. She cool as hell. She's Indian. She was talking about, yo, in that 2-year period where I'm pregnant, I need you to hold it down, whatever. And I was trying to say, like, yo, African-American men are economically castrated. We are. It's not an excuse. We are economically castrated. I think Dr. Umar said that. I don't agree with everything he says, but with a lot of the things I think he says is I think is great. But I think that with this said, you know, it drives a wedge in our community by, you know, men are still getting paid more than women, but when you see a sharp increase in income with the ladies, which I'm all for, like, make your money. I ain't no pocket watcher and nothing like that. Make your money. But what it does is hypergamy says a woman wants a man who's better than him. So that means that if she makes a certain amount of money, so let's say she makes this much money, right? And then says, I want to date a man who just has a PhD, right? Well, guess what? And you want him to be black, then that means your ceiling is this. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be realistic when it comes to like the options. So I mean, there's a lot to unpack with that, but I just think that sometimes the females don't really get the understanding of like hypergamy and how that really boxes them in a lot of ways. And
we also value different things as men and women, and that's something that does not get talked about enough. Just because hypothetically speaking, I have a PhD and you have a PhD and I make X amount of money, you make X amount of money. If I'm not attracted to you, it doesn't matter how successful.
It don't matter. It don't
matter. You know, women look to men for structure and stability and to be successful. Resources. The thing is, when a woman is in the work world, especially when she's putting her all into her career, it takes away from her being able to be a mother in certain ways.
It does.
You know, going back to what you said in reference to us being economically castrated, in the type of world that we live in, it really does take two. I don't care if you make $80,000 a year. That's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah,
it does.
It's too many layers. It's too many layers to raising children and being a part of a family. Like, go ahead, keep expanding, bro.
I mean, I just think that society has become completely unrealistic, and I think a lot of the issue is this social media nonsense. I think this is one of the worst things that could have ever happened to us because it causes people to constantly compare themselves to athletes and actors and people who have a different level of
outliers.
Money that us normal people do. Yeah, exactly. They have a different level of money. You can't compare us to them. Like, I can't compete with Meek Mill. He put them in a Rolls Royce and he has this and that. You know what I mean? And we're going back to hypergamy. Let's take this Jeff Bezos, richest man in the world, I believe, currently. Jeff Bezos could have any woman that he want based off of his income alone for the most.
Yep.
But there was a recent clip with him and his girl, and they were Jeff Bezos and his girl, I guess on a red carpet or something. I don't know what it was exactly. And she saw Leonardo Dicaprio. Now, her hypergamous nature kicked in. Jeff Bezos, as much as he may be worth, is 5'7". And really, he's not the most attractive man. Leonardo DiCaprio, known player, womanizer, also 6 feet tall. And I hate to say it, but despite how much money he has, her female nature kicked in. Women, And going back to the shaming and this and that, women will quickly tell you, I don't date short men. You're not
Yeah.
tall enough. It doesn't matter. The thing is, that doesn't make you inadequate as a man because of your height.
Or it
It
doesn't
just
make
doesn't.
her.
And
It doesn't even necessarily make her bad either. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. Continue though.
I mean, although we have our preferences, so many women will remain single because their standards are so high and they base it off of silly things like height.
Correct.
So, you know, you look past, I have decent guys that are friends who get looked past by women because they're 5'10". That doesn't
And that's
mean that
still
he's
realistic, and that's still taller than average. And that's the thing. It's still taller than average. It's not like she's saying the dude's like 5'2" and then has a choice. Like, you know, I mean, that's fine too. I mean, if the guy's not tall enough for you, he is. But for a guy to be 5'10" and he's still taller than you, and you need 6 feet above, like the 6'6". You know, the 6 is 6 figures, 6 inches, six pack. I guess that's what the red pill thing. But I know what you mean. Like, you know, the standards of is incredible. And like I said, living abroad now, I can see hugely the difference. Like coming back, you know, I don't know. I just feel like I've never really. I only hear these statements of like, oh, you hate women, and from very small sample size of women actually. But I think it's different because now that COVID's over, they saw how women went back to selling they stuff, you know, and how quickly, whether you're a nurse or whatever, you go right back to selling that stuff, and you can use that card if you want. You know, if it's us, we can't just throw the D around, you know what I'm saying, and be like, oh, okay, I can get a check for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? They have that in their back pocket. But it's interesting how they get back.
I'm sorry, my bad. I have a good friend who I have a good friend who actually mentioned this to me today, and he said when things get rough, women resort to that.
Yeah,
you know, prostitution has been one of the oldest professions in the world, and men, on the other hand, resort to violence. Like, I'm not a thief. I'm not a bad person, but I remember one time when I lost my job, and when things got tough, all type of thoughts began to cross my mind because I went into survival mode.
That's real.
So if I'm put in a predicament like that, I'm going to do whatever it takes to survive and feed myself and feed my family by all means necessary. And that's the worst predicament that you can put a man in.
Absolutely.
You know, and the same thing applies to women. But
it's different. But it's different.
It is
because she can still use that. She can still use that key. That's why there's more homeless men, especially black men than black women, because they can still use that. I see all of homeless people. I see, from my experience, this is my experience. I'm not saying these are the numbers, so I can differentiate between the data and my experience. I've seen a hell of a lot more black men homeless as a person who has been homeless themselves, and I see a hell of a lot more black men that are homeless than I see any other demographic. From what
because no one cares about us. There's no one to save us.
It's by design. Yes. This is the reason why with my brand, I say we got to get out of each other way. Niggas got to stop being bitch ass niggas over some dumb ass shit. And niggas got to be more real. And niggas got to like get over that jealousy. And and I'm not saying jealousy is not a normal emotion, but you got to understand that you niggas got to be around people that want to see them win. And, you know, I have a podcast, we were touching on that. Like, we need to get rid of these feelings. You know what I'm saying? We need to get out of our own way, because guess what? It starts with us. Period.
Because we're the natural leaders. It's just what it is. You know, but me being jealous of another individual isn't going to solve anything. I've never been so jealous of somebody I wanted to take their life.
Yeah.
You're taking that man from his family, possibly from his children.
Yeah.
Like, and when I'm saying all this nonsense right now, I mean, we all grew up listening to rap for the most part.
Yeah.
But they taking this stuff too serious right now. Every time I turn on YouTube, there's another rapper being killed over nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
And, you know, jealousy is a huge issue. But, you know, once they get, you know, by themselves and they have to sit there and really think about what they did, it doesn't just go. It don't. No one's going to convince me otherwise.
70%. I think it said 93% of the prison population is men. As of like 2019, I want to say, somebody can check behind me. Of that 90%,
of that 93%, 90% come from single parent households. And in our community, it's more likely to be headed by a Black woman. That's just the data. This ain't nothing that's bashing or anything like that. More often, if it's a single parent in a black neighborhood, it's going to be headed by the mother in most cases. And people can challenge me on that. And that's the way it has been. Things are slowly starting to change because people they're trying to get over on that child support. And let me say this. I'm not anti-child support in the sense of that you need to that you need to take care of the kid financially, but I am against people manipulating the system to drive a wedge between the parents.
I agree 100% with that.
And
there are.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No. I want to
make that crystal clear, just in case niggas want to try to make it about, oh, you don't like Black women, you don't like it. No, I'm about the dysfunction. Period. Why does nobody ever say, oh, you hate Black men? When I actually check them just as much, if not more, because my brand is about Black men. Like, nigga, get your passport. Nigga, why you shooting at me? Nigga, why you stealing? I say that shit all the time. Ain't no Black woman ever robbed my house or try to rob my house. You see what I'm saying?
One thing.
I'm just being honest.
I think iron sharpens iron, and I think the men in my circle, if we, like, everyone knows that I'm honest. Everyone knows if you want advice, if they come to me, they know I'm gonna be honest with them, whether it's right or wrong, whatever the situation may be. I expect my friends to come to me and say, Chase, you're fucking up. You're messing up in this area. You need to fix this, and vice versa, because it can't be one-sided. The problem is a lot of men, not all, are cowards.
See, you didn't say all. See, that's the shit that gets me too. Not one time did you say all. Not one time. People like to inject that into that, and it says it seems like you said no. I think you need to listen. You didn't say all. We have not said all Black men. All. We never said all or never. But that's injected into the conversation. That blows me. Sorry, Chase. Go ahead. That was me. Yeah.
I mean, but that is a big part, because it seems like sometimes when I'm talking to female friends, I don't have to say all, but it's like if I say one thing about a woman, they include everyone.
Right.
And it's
they project it in. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
That's not what you're talking about.
Like, what are your thoughts? Well, maybe we shouldn't talk about that on live, because I don't want no unnecessary issues.
I'm gonna tell you that.
Well, no, it's because of my job and the.
Okay, fair enough. That's fine. That's fine.
I'm gonna leave that part alone right there.
Okay,
but come back to, but I think a lot of women, especially because of COVID, got a chance to see how rough it is out here without a man.
Front line. And
I would think that you would much rather have your man risking himself going out to the grocery store, whatever the situation may be. That's one thing that a lot of women don't seem to value. They don't value a man, but there are women currently being targeted. When people see them, that you live alone, they target you because they know it's going to be easy to get inside there, overpower you. But if you come inside my house, you're going to be met with something else. I'm not no 5'7", 150-pound woman. It's not going to go the same way. And they understand that when they see a little 5'4" chick, and she's constantly going home by, they target her.
Naturally,
it just happened.
Naturally insecure by nature because they are smaller. They're just physically smaller just in itself. So a woman walking around at night has that extra fear. Not saying a nigga can't get gone outside either, but it's a deterrent. You know what I'm saying? That's what women understand. That's what women don't understand. Is like once the guys are gone now, bro, that's a whole nother level of protection that's completely just gone away. And like you said, they understood that. Because a lot of them were being homeless too, like taking their shit away. You know what I'm saying? So
I think if they held more of them accountable and took away some of these benefits, I think they would conduct themselves in a better way, 100%. Like even going back to the child support thing. Child support, in my personal opinion, is for men who make absolutely no effort to support their children. They have to be forced to support their children. Child support isn't because the relationship didn't work and you're upset with them. That's not what it's for. If this man is doing what he's supposed to be doing as far as his child, he should be on child support. I hate the fact that so many black women put men in the system. Now, for me,
Mm-hmm.
it worked against her.
Yeah.
I'm a black man who I don't want to say I beat the system or anything, but she went in their line.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, he pays X amount of money. But I had 3 years worth of check stubs to prove otherwise. And
Yeah.
she made herself look like a fool. And they reduced the amount that I was voluntarily given. Now I was set in stone. But when my child is with me, I don't penalize her and say, well, I pay your mom a child support. So I don't do that. Because my child has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like using as a pawn and playing this manipulation game when like it's about maturity, you know what I'm saying? Because the kids are involved now, and these petty games are just gonna cause more issues. I see Big Key was like, but some women be packing. Oh yeah, of course girls probably be packing, you know what I'm saying? But like I said in the chat, I think more often than not, it's more expected for a man to be able to protect. But I did, yeah, of course. I mean, you can, pointing out that, I think that's a great point. I know girls that really know how to shoot and stuff, but in my opinion, I don't know the data, but this is in my opinion, I think in most cases, given the evolutionary psychology, the men are going to be more than likely being put on the front lines when it comes to a violent situation, a war situation, or a crisis situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If an intruder comes in, you think I'm gonna send my girl to the door? That don't even make sense.
I wish I would could sit in this warm ass bed.
Could you imagine me? Hey, baby, you hear that?
Yeah, you got that.
Go see what that was. Like what?
Good. You man.
Your girl gonna leave you.
You the man. You the man. Look. That's I be joking around with my girl sometimes about it. I'm like, yo, be a man about it. But that's what I'm saying. You're picking and choosing, and don't get me wrong, it feels good to protect. It really does. It feels good, to be able to protect.
Exactly.
And I think that's great. But I think that, like you said, they don't value it. It seems like they don't value it until, again, it takes something being taken away to really appreciate it.
Something happened with your speaker. Something happened with covering your speaker.
Okay, yeah, it is. Okay, that better. Okay, I was covered.
Uh-oh, you froze. Can you hear me?
Oh. You can hear me? Okay. So I guess like let's talk about like something that could be done. So like now we're seeing a trend where, and I'm hearing a lot more women being more open-minded to what I'm saying now than it was like the past like 3 to 5 years ago. It was met with a lot more hostility. That's what COVID will do. When I was actually during COVID, I actually was driving and I went to the gas station. I didn't see no ladies out there. It was only men because it was the beginning of COVID. That's a prime example. Hey, baby, stay in the house. These are the things that you only really see after something happens. And how often in the average person's day to day is it survival mode? Like, I mean, a lot of people are in survival mode, but I'm talking about in the sense to like you're outside or you're homeless or something like that, and you literally gotta like fend for yourself, shelter. You know what I'm saying? We have a relatively good life here, relatively. But okay, so we talked about a couple of things. We talked about valuing protection, different things like that. One thing I will say about being an African American man that is difficult is the balance between being emotionally available and being that lion, because there's a fine line between it. You know what I'm saying? Because I got boundaries. I'm not going to let people do whatever they want to do to me. But at the same time, when it comes to men, we also need to understand that they aren't men too. And I'm learning that too. You know what I'm saying? So what are your thoughts on that? On like how do we better connect with, that without losing our masculinity? Because we shouldn't have to lose that. That's what they want in us.
I think for starters, we all need to accept the fact that we think differently as men and women. We handle situations differently. For the most part, I'm not going to say all, but usually men handle things based off of logic, and women usually handle things based off of how they feel. Right?
More often than not.
Yes. So, a man is going to look at a particular situation. How do I logically fix this? I think a lot of times women are caught up in this whole Disney fantasy nonsense. And I think that creates a lot of problems because they have these unrealistic standards, if you will, when it comes to certain things. and you can't have it all.
Yeah,
You just
it's impossible.
you just can't. I'm not a woman. I'm not one of your girlfriends. Some of the things that you want to talk about, I don't care about. Okay, I'll give you a prime example. If you and I have a conversation, we're going to try to come up to a logical strategy that's going to fix it.
Right.
Right?
That's what we do. That's what we do. Yeah.
We come up with solutions. But with women, sometimes when they're having a conversation, they're just talking about it and nagging about it.
They want to be heard.
Yes, that becomes overwhelming on a man sometimes. And then when you tell them that they're wrong about it, then they get mad at you. Now it's a conflict between, and that's wrong, no matter how you look at it. Like we are expected to be so much.
Superheroes to be loved. That's what black men. That's what I've heard from black men. Black men have to be. African American men feel like they have to be superheroes to be loved, and I have lived that a lot in this skin. You have to be a superhero to be loved. When I'm not loved, when I'm not doing so well, and I'm loved when I do. A man is loved under the condition that he provides something. That's what Chris Rock said, and that's true. So if that's the hardcore truth, then that means that you and I can't be fighting each other.
Exactly. And the thing is, and I think women need to understand this, I'm not one of your girlfriends. So there's certain topics that are irrelevant sometimes, or you don't want to discuss. And because of how honest I am, if you ask me a question or you tell me a particular story and I think you're wrong. So what I've had to learn to do, for example, in my own personal relationship, I've had to ask, are you just venting or do you want a solution? Because 90% of the time,
that's a very good
90% of the time, I'm giving a solution to the problem. Because I think, as a man, I think that's what she wants. You know what I mean? Same thing with any of my female friends. Like, if you come to me with a problem, I give you a solution to it, and then you do the opposite. And when you agree with my advice, it's irritating. And it's like, well, why did you come to me if you were going to do what you wanted to do in the first place? But based off of what I said, and then relaying back to my female friends, then they don't understand why they're single. You're single because of your decision making, because of your unrealistic standards. A lot of times, you know, the thing is, they claim that they want a particular guy that's going to treat them like this and do this and do that, and then they get that man, and then they look at him like he's a simp. And then it's ass backwards. It really is.
Trauma. It's part of the trauma. Like Coach Greg Adams said, they just want the next tingle. They want whatever is the next tingle. Whatever makes it tingle, that's what it is. So I'm not taking credit for that, but it's true. They want the next thing. To not be content. I think that's the biggest thing. Is to not be content means to not be grateful with what you have. So like, women are competitive. I would debate that the female ego is just as strong as the man. But that's debatable. And like, for example, I use this example of, like, if a man goes up to a girl and says, hey, you want to have sex? She could very easily just shoot him down just for whatever, even if she does want to have sex. But if a girl goes up to a man and says, hey, you want to have sex? She 100% or 99.9% of the time thinks that she's going to say yes, especially if she looks attractive, right? But if a guy says no to that, she'll be crushed. Because she knows the game. So again, these are different things that I like to kind of bring up. It's like different situations. You know, there's pros and cons to each side, but I find that, you know, it's just very interesting.
I mean, we all know there are double standards. But going with your example from a moment ago, if a random woman approaches a man and she just assumes he's attracted to her or he wants her, the moment that man turns her down, it has to be something wrong with her. He must be gay. Like, why is that your first thought? Maybe he just don't like you. Maybe he's not attracted to you. Maybe you need to lose some weight. Maybe you need to lose some weight. Maybe he doesn't like the weed. Maybe those stupid eyelashes look stupid. A lot of these women look like drag queens. I don't care how they feel about the situation.
And it's a lot in America. Like, other countries don't really do it as much. They do it, but not as much.
Me and one of my homeboys went out. Maybe a group of 5 girls walked past. They all look the same.
The same builder bitches.
But that's the truth, though. And because of our current climate in the world, I'm sorry, but if I see excessive weave, makeup, lashes, I'm looking at you sideways now because
Water not
people are
included.
buying body parts. People are buying. And the thing is this: you're selling a man a fantasy. We see all this stuff on social media. I don't know what you look like, so I know what my girl look like when she's sick, when she first wake up in the morning time, when she's all dolled up. You know, like for example, right when she was pregnant, she's walking around completely in her natural state. She was so beautiful to me. Watching her feed my child, you know, knowing that my child depended on her, you know, to eat. It was it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my
It's
life.
animalistic. It's primal.
Yes. But going back to one thing you said earlier about, you know, a lot of the households being raised by women specifically, right? You raise your son to be a certain way based off of your perspective of what a real man should be. And this is constant, yeah. And this is constantly happening. Yet either A, you don't know who the father is. You're so focused on getting child support, so you don't want the father to be around. You know, they never take accountability, but it's like a lot of them are single mothers because of their own personal choices.
Right.
Being a
and because of the culture,
father,
and there's a culture of, girl, you get that check, girl. There's a culture of that, but we don't want to talk about that either. Like we
one thing
promote
about
single motherhood in our community, and we should not be promoting single motherhood. But when you say that, oh, it's some heat.
That's the thing. And I hope women hear this part. Being a father is a choice. I am only legally obligated to pay child support. I don't have to see that child, spend time with that child, leave that child, give that child advice. Everything else is a choice. I made a choice to be in my children's lives. Every man is not going to make that choice. So, for example, there's a young lady that's on my Facebook page, and she's constantly posting memes in reference to deadbeat dads, yada, yada, yada. So one day I decided to have a conversation with her. I wanted to know what the issue was. You still there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, she's constantly, you know, constantly taking jabs at men, you know, in reference to the fact that she is in a position now where she's a single mother, but she got pregnant by him. He said he did not want to have a child by her.
In the
and
beginning.
He wanted her to get an abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the very beginning. But she chose to have a child. And he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He walked away from her. But now she's playing the victim. But he told you what he was going to do. He told you. He told you he did not want to have a child by you. Now your son is going to grow up. And speaking as someone who grew up with a single mother, one thing that women don't consider is one day that young man's going to grow up. And he's going to want to know what happened between you and his father. And then he's going to begin to hold you accountable for your decisions.
Yes, and he's going to resent you. He's going to resent you, even if you decide to go away. Because there's two sides. There's one side of that.
Absolutely.
The other side, which I understand as well, is like, you know, some women for their bodies, they're like, you know, this can be very bad, and abortion can be very bad for my body. Say they found them like maybe like 2 months. She found out she was pregnant or something a little bit late. Like, I understand those things. Some women are very, very like sensitive to their bodies, and they're like, I need to keep it. But I'm not talking about those things, which I believe are the outliers. I think they purposely want to keep the kid to, in most cases, and I could be wrong, if you're talking about black, they want to keep the kid to get a check, or they want to keep the kid because their biological clock, which again, there's some reasons for that, or they want to keep the kid for reasons other than they just really genuinely want to have a baby. And that's like, if, with no strings attached, like, I want to have a kid because I want a family. That's the whole point of having a kid, is to have, just to want to have a family, if you think about it. You know what I'm saying?
I
it's
agree,
not like, you know.
But that doesn't guarantee that man is going to stay. And that's the biggest issue
thing in the
right there.
community, is to get them. It's the control thing. It's using the kid as a pawn as a control thing. That's the I don't know the statistics, but that is something that happens in our community a lot that we do not want to touch on. You know what I'm saying?
For example, one thing I do not agree with: if you are in a relationship with someone and y'all have a child and then y'all go y'all separate ways, You have no right as a woman to keep that man away from his child
Like it's
because of
just
how you
yours.
feel.
Like it's just
Yeah,
yours. Nah.
I hate that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I've seen multiple
It's
men
ego.
go through that.
It's ego.
Yeah, I said,
It's ego.
I boo boo.
Yeah, but it's ego.
Sorry.
It's ego. It's proven. There's a couple of talks, TED talks, talking about what going through the legal system. This is this female lawyer. She says,
Mhm.
what there's like a certain amount of millions of fathers are the challengers, the pushers, you know, the people that really get them out there. Like that's in general the thing. Like the dad pushes them out. The mom is a little bit more safe on average, a little more safe, you know.
Mhm.
And even back in the Boys in the Hood, back in the 90s, to say, you know, a
Mhm.
man can't teach a woman can't teach a man how to be a man. Only a man can do that. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. You know what I'm saying? You can't,
Mhm.
because just like we don't know what it's like to have a baby, they're never going to know what it's like to really fully be on the front lines. And there's going to be some outliers. Of course, there's going to be some. I know there's plenty of black females that hold it down, that are the protector and all those things. You know what I'm saying? The whole big mama perspective came from
Mhm.
slavery by the alphas being slaughtered. And so, you know, that's where the concept of big mama came. She had to look a little bit more intimidating from that, you know,
Mhm.
and that's the discussion.
Mhm.
So I understand that there's a systematic approach to this. I mean, I'm black, I'm educated enough, you're educated enough, and I think us as a people are educated enough to know the big umbrella. But the big thing
Mhm.
that you were trying to do is say, hey, if we can stop some of the friendly fire first, then we can
Mhm.
focus our energy on the system to try to either amend it or to do other things. But if we're using the laws to fuck each other up, then that's not really as pro-black as we think. You see what I'm
I
saying?
think that I think that in a lot of situations, black women need to understand we are not their enemy. You know, for
Right.
starters.
Not your
You
opponent.
know that. Like
Yes.
for example, hypothetically speaking, a man and a woman get into it. She calls the police on that man. The police get there. They're going to see that man, and more than likely, there might be a tussle. They might just arrest him, whatever the situation may be. But now you're putting him in a predicament where he can't provide anymore, or he may get killed, unfortunately, whatever the situation may be. And a lot of times it's based off of ego. I'm going back to social media. I've seen so many videos of men having to record and show that they're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole believe all women nonsense, I cannot agree with that at all, because it's been
You're
shown
screaming.
over and over and over. They will lie and they will cry and they will pretend like it's one way that it's not. And then you mess this man's entire life up because you had a temper
Yeah.
tantrum. I'm just watching a video like that on Instagram a little bit before we went live. And luckily, the guy was
Yeah.
recording himself like, I'm telling you to get off me. I'm asking you to get off me. I just want to leave. I don't want to be with you anymore. And she's like, no, you can't leave me. You got to be with me. Like she was trying to force me. Like, I don't want to be with you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Provocative victims. There's a lot of, but that's
Your
just been
phone froze
harmed
on.
over evolution. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Your phone froze. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I hear you now.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry. I'm
so
sorry.
you got
I'm
to be
still eating my
careful.
bugs.
No, you're good. You're good. It's just being provocative victims. Look, I'm not saying all men do well. I'm not saying all women do bad. I'm not saying that. That's never anything that I've ever said. You know, it's
Absolutely.
more of like the sample size of people that are being dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fix that. I do that for the guys and the girls. But again, there seems to be a little bit more pushback when you're talking about the girls now, as if we can't correct the women. You know what I'm saying? There's even when black women coming out with stuff, it's like, when do we not hold black men accountable? You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, economic castration does
Exactly.
a lot. Economic castration does a lot when people can't provide. So guess what? I guarantee you, anybody listening to the sound of my voice right now, first of all, take away 10 from your overall money. That's what black people
Mm-hmm.
get. 10% less. I mean, 10% less. Take away a zero. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, white people in this country get 10% more based on just wealth. So now you take away that, and then you take away opportunity, right? So these are the types
Mm-hmm.
of things that weigh on black men all the time. So we're already behind the 8 ball as far as being hired. Why would you want to uplift black men in a country where you wanted to oppress them in the first place? That's what I think a lot of women in general, and especially black women, forget too. yes, you're a woman. You're on a lower standard because you're a woman. You know, you're not on the level of white man in America. But when it comes down to it, you're still a woman, which is higher than the black man. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think sometimes that opponentness is actually somewhat black women's way of looking down on us because we're lowest. We are lowest on the totem pole. You know what I'm saying? They
Mm-hmm.
literally look at us like we are beneath them a lot, you know, like enough of, you know, I can't even say it's most, you know. But yes, this sister called in and said, yes, we treat y'all like you're our opponents. But that's by design. So if we could get to the point where we're at least listening to each other, because I've heard numerous times black women generally will say, we ain't listening to y'all no more. And then on the black side, black men's side, they say they don't listen. So that's where the general discord comes between that. Why do they not listen? And why are we not being heard? You know what I'm saying? That seems to be the general. Do you disagree with that hypothesis of maybe, have you heard anything like that kind of being the general? What are the general sides saying, in your opinion?
All
That's
right.
what I got from my experience.
Well, I missed one portion of what you said because it froze.
Okay.
So repeat the last part of that again. As far as why did they not listen and something else?
Yeah. So basically, on black women, American black women, they're like, we ain't listening to y'all no more. That's like a general thing. And then the other black
Mm-hmm.
men are like, they don't listen to us. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the general thing that I get in the black community when I speak to sisters versus when I speak to the brothers. There's a disconnect. So what do you think is the side from your perspective? Like what is the thing here and the here for the guys? Like that's from my
Um,
opinion. That's not facts. That's a, you know.
I think it goes back to what I said before, as far as them not valuing us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, they have this whole Disney fantasy in their
Okay.
head that a man has
Mm-hmm.
to look this way, maybe have sex this way, make this amount of money. But like when I sit there and I speak to some of my Mexican homeboys who may make $12 an hour, but still treated like a king in their household.
Right. And that community and that culture. In the
Mm-hmm.
culture, a person
Culture
can
makes it
come from
different.
Guatemala and have a hut with his girl, and she perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
We have a
Mm-hmm.
hut as a black man. Oh, you ain't shit. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? I go to the Netherlands. I don't have to have a car. Oh, you got a car. If you got a car, they look at you funny versus not having a car. You know what I'm saying?
I know that you are, big on science and statistics and things of that nature. You ever been on that blackdemographics.com before? You ever took a look at it by any
No, but
chance?
I need to definitely look at that because I know that there are definitely things that are skewed. So I'm not naive to that. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? But some things are definitely going to be a different thing when it comes to being in the black community. We have different genetics in a lot of ways. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
blackdemographics.com for sure. Definitely take a look. Go ahead.
Like for example, so many women pretend like they make so much money. So I think like the average, I have a screenshot of my phone. I think like the average black woman makes like $28,000 a year. So you
Yeah.
went to
Okay.
college for
So
4 years.
just everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what do black men make? I
Average
would
black
think
man, I
more.
believe, I think it's like 41,500 or 42,500, something
Okay.
like that.
So
Average white man
naturally,
is 50,000.
right. So naturally, we'll make more because of the income gap, which I understand that. But the jump, there's this jump, and I saw a graph of it. There's like a blip of the jump of women making a lot more money, specifically the sisters. For that little baby jump to be there, and for the black
Mm-hmm.
community to feel it,
Mm-hmm.
lets you know, like, wow, like how much a little blip of the income increase on one side compared to the other could really affect a decent amount of stuff and affect hypergamy.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have more females talk about these kinds of things, and honestly, in most cases, when I'm around the world, I'm talking about this. I'm not met with hostility, to be honest. I'm really not. Like you'll have some people be like, "Oh, you hate women," or whatever, but I don't really hear that unless it's in the States. But I think it's worth men being heard, and I want more people to. This is the first of many. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the first of many podcasts. I mean that we want to protect the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Black men chose black women first, and just because we
Mm-hmm.
date outside of our race doesn't mean that we hate you. It just means that it might have just been a timing thing, but we can't ignore the fact of there are black men who have been rejected by sisters for the craziest of reasons, for whatever reason it is, good brothers, and we can't forget about that. And then when they find something else that happens to be another race, you can't really be upset about that and talk about, oh, he won't with her when he built it. Kevin Samuels, one thing I do agree with him is like the people that are the black men that are with women that look average, they rode them on the way up. The black men that already had money, they probably gonna find somebody to look good on their arm. I do agree with that, with what Kevin Samuels said. You know, if you want to say Tiny and T.I., shout out to Tiny and T.I., they met on the bottom, they rode their way up. You know what I'm saying? You know, but yeah, you know, these are just realities of the situation. So people can try to tell me what ain't reality and not, but we got another brother here that sees a lot of the same things that we see. But I think that if we could stop like inserting what we think is the truth into the truth and just look at the data and listen to each other, I think we could be straight. None of this is hate.
Exactly. Like any time that a woman has said that I hate women and I challenge her and I have a conversation with her, they can never logically explain why I so-called hate women. They can never explain because it's based
They
off
don't
of how
tell you
they
you're wrong
feel.
either.
Exactly. They don't. They just try to insult you or whatever the situation may be. Or what are you, gay?
It's a
So,
test. It's a test. It's a shit test to see if you're gonna fold. But I ain't folding for shit because it is what it is. If I sit here and fold, that makes you like that. If I'm afraid of women, then that means that how am I supposed to protect one?
I agree.
Yeah, like.
And the thing is, with any man, if a man is constantly being rejected in some type of way when he's trying to get love, what do you expect him to do? Just be single for the rest of his life? For example, although my preference is black women, if black women didn't show me love, if black women didn't like me, if black women didn't show me attention, I would date outside my race and go with the person who is showing me that attention. And I don't think there's
that just
anything
goes for
wrong with
women
that.
too. It goes for the women too. Like I genuinely do not feel any type of animosity when a sister dates outside her race. I just want them to be happy because at the end of the day, there's not enough of us to go around. Black men, you would think that if two good brothers like us would it would be different. Like it's just like I think they were saying that normally a lot of the groups of women, they go for the top 10% of men. So like I was telling you before, that's just hypergamy. So if a lot of the women are going to the top 10% of men, there's STDs, there's all these other different things that happen when you're going with the same amount of men. So guess what? Somebody gonna be played eventually is too many. All they got is one dick. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for failure, and then you get so used to the competition. And you know, it's just kind of flipped. It's like flipped. Like the girls get that, but then the guys with the top 10%, you know. And then you could even be a top 10% and it still not work out, you know, for whatever reason, because people are just chasing the thrill, and that's on both sides. But I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing is to have these conversations and not be silenced. You know, I found that, you know, your dating choices don't make you any less or more black.
I agree 100%.
They just don't.
Because
Like
I've definitely dated outside my race.
That if somebody's a black female and she married nothing but white dudes, she's still black. She's still a part of the black community.
And society will still recognize her as being black. And whoever she has a child with, that child is still going to come out black. If I go out and impregnate an Asian woman, society is still going to recognize my child as a black man or a black woman, whatever the situation may be. And that's something. Now, one thing I will say is this. One, black men are a hot commodity, and I understand why they fear us. They fear us because we have the power, unlike any other race of man, to go out and create a whole bunch of other black babies. No matter who we sleep with, that child is going to be black. They can call it biracial and all this other nonsense. All they want to.
One drop rule.
That's it. And nobody else can do that. Nobody else can do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's so funny. Like my girlfriend's Russian. It's so funny how I remember I back in the day dated this girl. I think I was like 24. She was like 35, something like that. She was like I don't know what black women getting upset about. I'm looking at the same thing they looking at. I said that's a good point. That's a good point. If black women find a guy attractive, can't expect other races to not find him attractive either. Or just because you just don't want to find somebody attractive because they dated outside the race or whatever, doesn't mean other races aren't going to. If anything, you're going to perpetuate that. You know what I'm saying? By, you know, because I honestly can say, date who you want, sis. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I honestly say that. Then there's some that come out and they say that. They don't mean that, though. They'll still give you the side eye, you know. But, I mean, I understand it. I do understand it because, you know, we're your men, so the narrative is or whatever. I understand that. But it's like, you know, one of those things is like, a man is not going to stay in a situation where he doesn't feel like he can be himself.
I agree 100%.
Care to expand?
Going back to what we were talking about as far as rejection. If, like, for example, I have a cousin and he was shown more love by white women because black women felt like he was corny.
Right.
And he was a geek and yada, yada, yada. And when he became successful, of course, more of them began to look at him. But just because a person is mal-mannered or can speak correctly, if you will, and it's not walking around with their pants hanging off their behind, and that doesn't make him a weak man. It doesn't make him inadequate. It doesn't make him less black. And that's something that I do not understand.
That's what gets me every time. You whitewashing your own people and don't even realize it. You can tell somebody they ain't black enough to get dated outside their race, but then you can immediately make yourself a hypocrite right after that. I find that
absolutely
very interesting. Go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and not to no, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to throw him under the bus because he has enough issues as far as social media right now. But I have another homeboy. I wish I had my old Instagram. I have another homeboy. We were chopping it up, you know, through the DM, and his wife is white, and we dated the same girl in high school. You know what I mean? So his preference is definitely black women, but black women said that he was too dark. He was too short.
Yeah.
And he got tired of dealing with it. But his wife, the woman who ended up being
it was consistent. It wasn't one time. It wasn't twice. But people act like that don't happen. People act like that don't happen.
Exactly. It definitely happens. And the thing is, like I said before, black men are a hot commodity. I've dated other races of women. Other races of women have shown me love, and I've dated them and been out. And I've seen the looks that I got. But like I said, but my preference as far as like being physically attracted, I'm just mostly or more attracted to black women. You know,
and is that people of color? Is that black, American black, or is it just pigmentation? I'm just curious.
I would say American black women that seem to have that issue when it's about.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Is like there's a lot of good ones out there. I don't want to say there's not a lot of good ones.
I want to bring up something from the past. I was at work one time, and a coworker, asked me to describe my type. I intentionally described what she looked like. What she looked like, and she told me I was an Uncle Tom. And I'm like, what? And this is a black woman.
That was projection for real.
And so you know, I let her say what she had to say. I said, do you realize? So I told her, I said, do you realize you're light brown skin with long hair, a pretty smile and a pointy nose? Do you realize I just described you? Do you realize I just described you?
Well, listening.
Wasn't listening.
That's what we just talked about. They don't listen to us no more. They already got an automatic response like this.
And that's the issue. That's the issue majority of the time, because we had a coworker that was there that was Salvadorian, and you know, they used to see us talking yada yada, and they assume things and blah blah blah, and you know, I could tell it rubbed her the wrong way, and it's like, why do you care?
Yeah.
If I am or am not dating this individual,
if you care about me, you would want me to be happy.
That's when I see. I mean, okay, I'll say it like this. I never have any hate, but if I see a badass black woman and she happens to be with a white guy, okay, we got 26 more seconds it's going to end. It does kind of make me be like, damn, she bad. You know, I wish I had her, but I don't hate that man because of it. We got 15 seconds. You want to wrap it up real quick?
Yeah. No, that's it, man. We'll do another version. I didn't know the time limit, but this is
Leave it
podcast number 7. We out. We gonna continue later. Peace.
All right, peace.